faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally with the Book Talk. Today, we're interpreting the book titled Invitation to Sociology in English. The title is Invitation to Sociology, inviting everyone into the world of sociology.
The author is Peter Berger.
Born in Austria in 1929, he immigrated to the United States at the end of World War II. He's a renowned sociologist with main research areas in religion, knowledge, sociology, and more. Why would such a famous professor write such an introductory little book, inviting everyone into the world of sociology? From the start, Berger explained that the motivation for writing the book can be summarized in 2 points. First, sociology seems to be an all-encompassing discipline. After all, we all live in society. But it's precisely this jack-of-all-trades feel that makes people unclear about what this field is really about, what sociologists are like, and what they do. So Berger hoped for a book that could explain what sociology is and what it's good for. Secondly, academic research is often filled with obscure jargon and abstract theories. This makes ordinary people shy away. But in Berger's view, sociology is a fascinating and wise discipline, and it shouldn't be expressed in dull language. So Berger decided to write a clear and understandable book in plain language. Now, to answer, what is sociology? This delightful little book, upon its release in the 60s, was widely welcomed. Even today, it's a classic that anyone wanting to understand sociology can't bypass. This book has a total of 8 chapters, roughly divided into 3 parts. The first part revolves around what sociology is. The second part introduces major sociological theories and explains how sociology views the relationship between people and society, a question that everyone cares about. The third part is used by the author to answer what sociology is good for. First, let's look at the first question. What is sociology? This question is hard to give a direct answer to. Broadly speaking, sociology is a scientific research with unique perspectives and special viewpoints. It has 4 pillars: a scientific attitude, a spirit of irreverence, a trend toward neutrality, and a world perspective. World perspective? Berger believes that sociology is first and foremost a science, and sociologists are scientists. If scientists aim to uncover the laws of the universe, then all of a sociologist's work is about revealing the truth of society. What does it mean to reveal the truth of society? It means piercing through the surface of daily life to discover motives that people are unwilling to admit or unaware of. For example, when we talk about a city's governance, we inevitably discuss its political structure and administrative system. But if you think city governance is just about people in these institutions following rules, that's way too naive. In sociology, there's a term called informal power structures. It means that those who manage a city aren't necessarily in government offices, but in corporate boardrooms or the mansions of powerful figures with resources. Sociologists aim to pierce the facade of institutions or behaviors to find the truth, or rather the real driving forces behind society's operation. Social truth doesn't bend to human will, just like the universe or nature. This is because, although society is made up of people, society itself exists independently of each individual, with its own laws and logic of operation. Berger cited the research of 2 classical sociologists to illustrate this point. The first is Max Weber. One of Weber's sociological themes is exploring the unintended and unforeseen consequences of human actions. Taking the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism as an example, Weber pointed out that Protestant doctrine never promoted wealth accumulation or expanded reproduction. But objectively, countries dominated by Protestants developed capitalism because the doctrine urged people to live diligently, manage businesses, and glorify God. The rise of capitalist society, in turn, destroyed old religious values, causing people to forget the core spirit of capitalism. In fact, this entire historical evolution from ancient religion is an unintended and unforeseen consequence of human actions. The other is Durkheim. He believed that social processes are independent of individual will. Durkheim's most classic research was on suicide. Before Durkheim, suicide was seen as an individual act, a psychological problem. However, Durkheim analyzed suicide rates across different societies and historical periods, pointing out that suicide rates are closely tied to social conditions. In highly integrated societies, people have many mutually supportive groups, whether based on kinship or profession, and the social value system is relatively stable. In highly integrated societies, individuals receive more material and spiritual support, resulting in fewer people ultimately taking the path of suicide. This pattern has always existed. It's just that the individuals involved, as individuals, cannot perceive or comprehend it. You see, even suicide, the most individualized behavior, is closely linked to the overall development of society. The above explains the primary meaning of sociology as a science. From a sociologist's perspective, society exists independently of individuals. We must approach it with a scientific attitude, study it, and reveal the truth of social phenomena. Beyond scientific spirit, social researchers must also maintain an attitude of irreverence. This irreverence means not respecting what those in power say. You're respecting secular judgments about what's refined or vulgar, superior or inferior. Berger noted that sociology couldn't exist in Nazi Germany because such a totalitarian state had only one truth, whatever those in power declared. Sociologists not only distrust authorities' words, but frequently challenge power. Sometimes this challenge isn't necessarily the researcher's intent. It's just that what they say often displeases those in power. Beyond irreverence toward power, sociology also scorns so-called hierarchies of high and low status. This brings us to the famous American sociologist Robert Park. Before sociological research, the world of slums, criminals, and prostitutes remained hidden. If not for journalists reporting out of sensationalism, no one would notice, let alone bring it into the view of so-called upper-class or respectable people. However, American sociologists led by Park first entered the dark side of big cities like Chicago. By studying marginalized groups in slums and immigrant communities, they revealed other ways of life beyond the respectable upper and middle classes that shouldn't be ignored. When sociologists face immigrant settlements and slums, they must first set aside value judgments of right and wrong to explore why and how this subculture exists. The scientific spirit and irreverent attitude form the two pillars of what Berger calls sociological consciousness. Additionally, the other two pillars are called neutralization and world perspective, both deeply connected to modern society's unprecedented geographical and social mobility. People can now travel across continents in just a few hours. Throughout a lifetime, one experiences countless changes. In traditional societies, generations of a family might live identical lives in identical environments. But in our rapidly changing modern world, it's nearly impossible for most people to repeat rigid lifestyles. Countless move from villages to cities. Even people from smaller cities migrate to metropolises or even settle abroad. Each relocation brings massive lifestyle transformations, right? In this rapidly transforming world, modern individuals gain at least one latent awareness. Their own culture and values possess relativity across time and space. There are too many lifestyles and survival philosophies. My cultural understanding is just one among countless choices. Should my living environment change, I might abandon current convictions to embrace other values. Berger termed this relativity neutralization. In past eras, only a few philosophers held this relativistic awareness, but now it's deeply embedded in every modern person. What does Berger's neutralization or relativity mean for sociology? As a discipline born in modernity to study modern phenomena, sociological research must confront this relativity, staying open-minded while maintaining intellectual independence, not submitting to singular dogmas. Closely related to relativity is the world perspective. Sociology concerns the globe, not just one culture or society. Berger described this attitude with passionately charged prose. Sociology's vision embraces the breadth of human existence, an open endeavor freeing perspectives from constraints. The finest sociologists appreciate curiosities, their minds open to humanity's infinite potential. And they passionately pursue new horizons in worlds of human meaning. Berger summarized sociology's four core themes: revealing truth, irreverent attitude, neutralization, and world perspective. These four themes answer, what is sociology? Sociology is the science of uncovering social truths, challenging authority and common sense within a relativistic, cosmopolitan environment. Therefore, sociologists embrace relativity, remain open-minded, maintain independence, and care about humanity's overall condition and destiny. If sociology were a person, through Berger's description, we've now sensed its overall character. Next, let's look at the second question. How exactly does sociology view the relationship between society and individuals? As mentioned earlier, although society is composed of people, it exists independently of them. So how should we understand this chicken or egg problem? Ultimately, does society determine people, or do people determine society? Berger devoted 3 chapters to discussing this issue. The titles are respectively Man and Society, Society and Man, and Society as Drama. Let's examine them one by one. First, we look at man and society. Berger used a vivid metaphor to explain what society is. We've all seen maps and tried to locate ourselves on them. This position is defined by longitude and latitude. Berger says this map represents society. The longitude and latitude are social labels, like age, profession, income, nationality, skin color, etc. You're born onto this map, labeled with these tags, and through them, you locate yourself and weave the meaning of your life. Thus, for each individual life, society predates our existence. If we view life as participating in a game, we're all players following rules predetermined by society. This is the core concept of man in society. However, from this perspective, society appears as a vast prison existing to suppress individuals. Sociology has a specific term for this: social control. Through it, even the most rebellious return to established paths. Social control methods vary, the ultimate being state violence like police and prisons. But the control we feel most daily comes not from police, but primary groups. Small circles where people live and work intimately. Members know each other, remain loyal, and stay interconnected. Within these groups, control mechanisms constantly pressure actual and potential deviates. Methods include persuasion, ridicule, gossip, and humiliation. Like when you go back home for, Chinese New Year, if you're a, 35-year-old unmarried woman, the pressure you face to marry is a form of social control. Or if you're married but childless, you might face persuasion and gossip, another control method. If you're a man, questions like, did your salary increase, or why no house or car yet, are also social control tactics. Everyone lives within layers of concentric circles based on their social proximity. Each circle functions as a social control system, with individuals constrained by multiple forces. So, what are the morals, customs, and etiquette that social control relies on? There are various social institutions, like legal, political, and marital systems that regulate behavior to maintain order.
But these institutions are forcibly imposed on individuals.
Through years of conditioning, the socialization process, people gradually accept institutional arrangements, internalizing society's expectations as personal desires. Marriage makes this clear. It explains why people pressure others to marry. To those pressuring, marriage seems utterly natural and inevitable. What does utterly natural mean? It means as a human, you must marry, like eating or sleeping, as instinctive as instinct itself. The sociological truth? This instinct is socially imposed. Without marriage institutions, sexual relationships and child-rearing would descend into chaos. Competition over mating rights and reproduction would spark conflict. Thus, throughout human history, marriage systems evolved to ensure order in mating and reproduction. To clarify, marriage is society's demand on individuals, unrelated to personal wishes. From birth, social institutions regulate our behavior. Like instincts guide animals, social institutions program human behavior into socially acceptable patterns, hence Confucian milestones. Study at 20, establish at 30, clarity at 40, etc. When people are conditioned to accept these institutional arrangements, they gain society's shelter, manifested through congratulations for marriage, childbirth, promotions, while genuinely forgetting that this is a social construct, believing they control life choices. But if someone refuses marriage, children, or hard work, society promptly punishes them. Endless control mechanisms and suppression tactics exist. From mockery and isolation to imprisonment, one might ask, why accept this subtle conditioning? Berger cites psychological research revealing humans inherently crave peer acceptance and communal living. We fear isolation. This is true instinct. Thus, primary group ridicule, seemingly trivial next to jail, proves deadliest. After this man in society perspective, you might feel chills. Are we doomed in this social prism? Our desires and behaviors are society's constructs. Where then does individual will manifest? Berger notes society's power isn't absolute. First, against institutions, people resist, reform, cleverly manipulate, or discard them. Resistance and reform shine in social revolutions, like the American Civil War rejecting slavery's obsolescence, or France's Revolution overthrowing monarchy for equality, and feminist movements challenging gender systems. Clever utilization means consciously exploiting structures in unanticipated ways, like homosexuals entering sham marriages to evade exclusion, or white-collar workers strategically slacking during forced overtime, staying just within firing thresholds. To sociologists, such tactics embody individual freedom, negotiating social rules through beau air. Finally, some choose to abandon social norms, like building their own island in a vast ocean. For instance, retreating to Zhongnan Mountain as a hermit, founding one's own sect, becoming a heretic. Society as objective existence requires collective acknowledgement, like regimes needing public consent for governance. Animals follow instinct without choice, but humans possess freedom. In truth, humans can say no to society. We're simply unaccustomed to it. So why do we habitually conform throughout life, either lacking freedom or yielding after failed rebellion? Berger cites existentialist philosopher Sartre's view. Sartre believed all humans practice self-deception, masking voluntary acts as compulsory, like selling one's body for status while pretending helplessness. That's self-deception. Terrorists killing while blaming organizations also deceive themselves, pretending existence depends on the group. But in reality, it's still personal choice. Sartre said self-deception flees freedom, for freedom demands painful responsibility. Society provides a warm, comfortable cave. We huddle there with comrades, emboldening ourselves, drowning predators' howls with drumbeats. But pursuing freedom means leaving the cave to face darkness alone. Berger argues human-society relations aren't about suppression, but deception and self-deception as core realities. Society operates precisely through deceiving us and our self-deception. Society deceives us, calling marriage, children, careers, mandatory instincts. Our self-deception, we comply. Choosing marriage or careers is easier than defiance. That's the truth. After all, though exhausting, conventional paths offer communal support. So back to our core questions. Is society truly a prison? Do we have freedom? Berger would answer, this social prison is one we entered voluntarily, and each of us helped build it. Society provides individuals with a vast mechanism that blinds them to their own freedom and extinguishes desire for it. We depend on society as it depends on us. That's the ultimate answer to the human-society relationship. Seen through Berger's sociological lens, understanding society runs on deception and self-deception, does this leave you feeling more hopeless or perhaps lighter? Berger wanted us to feel lighter, hence writing the Life as Drama chapter. This directly connects to our third question, what's sociology good for? They're intimately linked. First, sociological knowledge helps policymakers better understand and govern society. Research on diverse groups informs fair, more effective policies. For example, Berger notes sociology played crucial roles in debunking racial myths. Sociologists reject racist claims about moral or cognitive differences between skin colors, expose how racial systems serve dominant groups, and propose equality solutions. But Berger stresses sociology doesn't guarantee progress toward fairness. It won't automatically build a better world. As discussed earlier, good intentions don't always yield good outcomes. Society operates by its own logic, often defying expectations, so don't overestimate sociology's power to transform it. Second, sociological knowledge greatly benefits individuals personally. Understanding sociology brings clarity, fostering self-awareness and maturity, aiding personal growth and reconciliation with society. Berger says, sociological insight is awakening, like seeing puppets dance on strings, rigidly performing roles. But exposing this puppet show gives us chances to pause, look up, and perceive the strings controlling us. That pause, that cessation of performance, is freedom's first step. All right, that's all for Invitation to Sociology. The reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.